Okay, we will see Inkscape now for working on vector images. Inkscape has just released a new version. They went from 0.41 to 0.91, so there is a huge jump in the quality of the software. On Mac you will need Xquark, which is basically the graphics server X11 for launching the software. So just a bit slower, but it works perfectly the same. So that's the main Inkscape page. You have the tools here for drawing, tools for the main program here, sub-tools for each of these tools. Here you have windows for more functionalities here for snapping, I guess. And these are swatches for color, if you just want to save colors and be sure. And that's the basic. Here you have the zoom, so you can change the zoom by value here, but you can also use this for zooming. And here you have more zoom, so you can have the one-to-one, the page zoom, and so on. So first thing you want to do probably is changing the size of the document. You go on File, Document Properties, and you can set all the setup of the document. So you can change the default units from pixel to millimeter, centimeter, whatever. It depends if you want to design for the web or for something physical. You can choose existing format, or you can do your own custom format. You can do portrait or landscape. It changes in real time, as you see. So you can change it even when you are working, whenever you're working. So if you want to have something for the web, you do pixel, and you do, for example, 800 or whatever you need. Okay. You can take off the page border. You can page border, put it on top of the drawing. You can choose the background color, border color, and so on. You can put guides. You get guides with this pointer, and by clicking on the rulers and dragging them. In this way, then you can snap objects to the guides, so they use as a reference if you don't need them, or you take off these, or you just drag them again to the rulers. Okay. You can add the grid. It could be a rectangular grid, a axonometric grid, so you just add the grid. You can change the settings here. Here you change the snap to the grid, to guides, and so on. You can change color profiles. You can add scripting. You can add scripting because basically Inkscape works with vector format, which is a formula, and specifically save it as SVG. SVG is a web standard. So basically it's a vector that can be put in web pages. It's based on XML, so it's text. So you can do everything you will do with text and data. You can write a script, you can handle it, you can edit manually, and so on. So that's why, for example, on metadata you can change. You can put the title of the project. You can even choose a Creative Commons license. Okay. And then, for example, if you go here and you check this, you can view and edit an XML. This is the status of the XML. So you can see it here, for example. So you see CC license, you have it here, and so on. Creator is here. So the good thing is, for example, you can go here, you will have the values here. So for example, what is it? You have height here, you can change it here. So for example, I write this and set, and this change automatically. So you can also go from the data to the representation, not just from the representation to the data. So here as well we have layers. In layer you have all the tools for this. The best thing is to click on the last one, layers. Here you have a new panel. You can add a layer. You can drag and drop layers to change the order. You can put them visible or locked. So for example, on layer 2, I'll put it again here. Layer 1, I create a rectangle. On layer 2, I create another rectangle. Now they're black, so first thing I will change the color. You change the color with this. It will open this window. Here you can change the fill. the stroke color, and the stroke style. So in this case, for example, you can also go in Sim1K. I will do a red rectangle. I can choose the stroke. So in this case, there is no stroke, there is no border. I can add one. I can do it green, for example. In stroke paint, I change. So for example, I put 10 pixels. I can change the corner. I can change the end. I can change the style of the line. So I can change the scale of this. I can change this. And then we will see later this. But now if we go back to the layers, this is on layer 2. Okay, if I move layer 2, it's below. If I move it above, it's like this. So one thing that we want also to do, by layer you can set up the opacity like you will do in GIMP. So for example, I do 50. Now everything on this layer has this opacity, but I can change it again. So there are also different things with vector drawing. You can edit the geometry without losing data most of the times, while you will lose the data every time that you do an effect that works in something on the raster. Here again you can change the type of blending and so on. Now if I want to put this somewhere else, you select the object, and for example you do move selection to layer above, to layer below, move selection to layer, and you click on this, move, and then it's in this. Okay, and then you can do like you will do in Word. You can put it below, on top, footer on top, or footer below, and so on. One more thing, I will move this again. Move selection to layer 2. Okay, so if I click on this, it's not visible yet. So it's any longer. If I click on this, it's blocked. So if I click on this, I cannot select it. So that's really the basic thing of layers.
Do you know that if there is any manual command to lock a layer? Like on the keyboard to make it faster, the process of locking layers?
It doesn't show anything here. You can probably look online, but I guess if there is the command. See, there is no command here, so I guess there is no command for this. Okay, so with this command here, with the cursor icon, we edit the object as a whole. So you can grab it. If you click once, you have this, so you can change the size. If you click twice, you can rotate it. Okay. On Mac, you will have to use the Ctrl-Z instead of Command-Z, so it's also Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. Another thing that you can do, you can set up the position and the size here. So I can do something like this. Something else that you want to learn about Inkscape, that if you do a Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V, it will be rasterized. So usually you do Ctrl-D, which is duplicate. And now this is...
what is the difference?
If you do Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V, the thing that you paste is automatically rasterized, at least on the Mac. It's some strange setting of X squares, if I remember well. I will show you another difference. If you go in view, okay, you have zoom, paste, guys, whatever. But if you go in display mode, you can change from normal to outline. You see the outline of the geometry. Okay. If I select this, I do Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. This is the pasted item. When you see this in red and when this is a raster. This is a bitmap. So you already know that if you do Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V, you get the bitmap. If you want to have it editable, you do Ctrl-D. So if I do again Ctrl-D, I get it up passed on the top, so then you move it. So you go on layer and display mode to normal, and that's useful especially when you have a lot of different images, shapes, and you want to edit it a bit better. Something more that you want to do here, for example, is aligning objects. So you click on this and you will get this option here. You select the object, and then depends on what you want to do. You can choose relatively to which items they do align. So if I go to page and I do this, they align to the center of the page. Okay. If I go this and I check last selected, they align to the last selected. Okay. If I go this and I put to first selected, they align to the first selected. You can also, in this case, for example, I will change this. I will delete this. So, for example, I select the three, first selected on top. Now I want to align them evenly, so I can click on this, and now they align evenly. Now in this case, for example, I will show you this. If I fill it with another color, you can also rearrange them. So for example, if I select all of them and you do these, they will be swapped. So that's an easy way for moving. These are new features, so it's something that you want to check with the latest version. You can do this manually. Another way for moving is select an object, and in object you click on transform. It will open a new tab here. You can do the move. So for example, you click on apply and it will be moved, and the same for scale. So scale is in percentage. You can do something very precise here. You can rotate, so 23 degrees. Okay. The other way is if you select with this, you can rotate by 90 degrees here, or you can do a mirror, which in any case you won't see here because it's symmetrical. You can also skew these, so this is in, for example, percentage. And I do this, so it's skewed. And you have also matrix transformation if you want to do this. If you want to create more objects, the best thing is the clone. So you go and edit, clone, create type clone, and here you have the different way for dealing with this. So this is very complex. You can do a simple translation, rotation, reflection, and so on. So simple translation, I want to have 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, if I do click create on this, I have this. Okay. You can do with an 8, so you save the space, and so on. Remove, you go back. So for example, you do rotation, let's say anti-rotation, you do create, you have a 2 by 2 matrix and they rotated each one by 90 degrees. Remove it. You can also do blur and opacity. So for example, I want to change the opacity. For example, put 50%. I create this, and then you see on the opacity per row changes by 50%. And if you do one blur, it's the same. This is blurred by 50%. You can do the same with color. So you change the color. You can trace bitmap, scale. So this is much more advanced if you really need to create a matrix of elements without doing it manually. We start designing now. If you think more about the tools, with this you edit the elements of an object. So in this case you edit the elements inside. With this you can deform it. Not really useful here. This is for the zoom. With this you can measure. Okay, so you have different measurements. With this you create a rectangle. You can create a rectangle and then you can change the settings here. Here you have the Rx and Ry is the rounded corner. So if I do 20, it's rounded. If I do 100, it's much more. Okay. If I select this, with this I can change only the size. If I select this and I select the, one existing rectangle, it will take again the rounded corner, so I can edit it back. With this you can create a 3D representation. There, of course, 2D representation of 3D. Then you can edit with the control point. Okay, so if you need to create something in 3D, with this you create circles or ellipses depending on the key that you press. But then you can change the size. Here you can also set the degree that you want to cover. So if I do this, I already have half of a circle. You can add polygons. So this is a star, and I can change the number of segments. I can do a regular polygon again. I can change these. Okay. You can do spirals. You can do a freehand. Okay. And usually you will edit with this. So see, these are all the points that interpolate the curve. But this is not really precise. So usually what you will do is use this, which is the Bezier curve. You click on the point, you go and do a multi-line, and then when you're okay, you press enter, and you have this line. If you move this, click on this, you can edit it compressively, well, globally. If you click on this, you can edit the elements. This is for straight lines. If you want to have curved lines, you click on the point and then you move it by keep on clicking, and then you have the control point for the Bezier curve. So you already see how it is transformed. Okay, and then enter to finish. Yep.
The question.
Yep.
Is it possible to, like in Illustrator, to change an enter point in a Bezier curve point?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, sorry. Do you want to edit the? What do you want to edit? Sorry.
There is a feature in Illustrator in which when you make like a vector line, for example, a segment,
like this.
If you go on the anchor point, you can like modify it and make it becoming like a Bezier curve editable point. How to say better?
Okay, with this you only do Bezier. So this is a straight one. If you go on this and then you click on the node, there should be the option for this. Actually, let me check. If you press shift and then you move it, that's how you made it. Because the Bezier this is still a Bezier, but it's just 0, this value. Okay? So if you click on the node and then press shift and move it, then you can edit it. But if you go back to the grid here, that's going to be straight. So with this again, you can do this. So you select the node and you change this. Okay. Now this is very thin. So for example, we go to the stroke style. We put 5 pixels. Okay. You can choose how to make the joint. So in this case, rounded. Here they're going to be more rounded. Here you will change the end. Okay. Here you can change the style. Okay. Here on markers, you can add elements at the beginning, the middle, and the end of a curve. So, for example, I want to make an arrow. I make something like this. I put it width, and at the end, I will choose an arrow, for example, and now I have an arrow. The arrow is proportional to the width of the line, so if I do this, the arrow is bigger. If you want a smaller arrow, you choose a smaller arrow here. Okay, so you can also do something more. So in the middle, you can put something like this, and you will have in the middle point this element. Okay. Now for each element, if you select it, you can also set up a blur, which is dynamic. Of course, it will take a lot of energy on your computer, a lot of memory and CPU processing, but that's dynamic, so that's a good way for having blur. That's it back. Okay. You can also use this for connecting lines. So for example, I select this, I select these, the 2, 1, they are separated. If I select these and I select this with shift, if I do this, they will be joined at the same point. If I do this, they will be joined with the segment. Okay, and the same thing, you can remove the segment. Okay, or if you have something like this, you can take one and divide it into two, so this is one and this is one other. You can also change from this, so for example you can make curve, so this is another way if you want to have the control point for a rounded Bezier, okay, or you can make it square again like this, if I remember well. See, so this make it rounded, it makes it curved. So this is the basic for drawing shapes. So one thing that you want to do also is join shapes. So this is a manual way for joining them. The other way, if you select them, and if it's something temporary, so you select this and this, you can do object and group. So they are group. Their geometry is still separate, but they treat it as a group. So object and group. If you want to join them, is path combine. In this case, they now are combined. Something else that you want to do probably is to do a Boolean subtraction or addition and so on. That's something you will do in 3D as well. So for example, I want to do this. I select the two. I go in path. I have the union. Now they became one object. Okay. Or I select them and I do path difference. Path intersection. Path exclusion. So that's a good way for creating complex part. You can also just do cut path, and now you see this is separated from this. And now of course you don't have any fill because it has been cut. You can also do offset, which is, for example, take this path. You can do offset. We just do it on one bit, but you can do path dynamic offset. Something more you want to do is adding text. So you can add text. This is a vector as well, so you can edit here while you type it, or you can click on this and you can change the font. For example, here I have my local font. So for example, I will check this one. I will put it very big font, and you click on apply. Here you change the orientation, the line height. On text you can still edit. You can apply and then you get it. If you click it twice here, you can also write it here. Okay, so this is still editable. If you want to give this to somebody else that doesn't have this font, you want to convert this from an object to a path. Okay, so object to path. And now if I edit this, this is the whole geometry. Okay, so I'm editing the geometry, not the font. When you do this, then you cannot go back to the text. You can do the same with this. If I do this, I can still edit as a rectangle. See, the rounded corner. If I do path, object to path, then it's just a series of different nodes. Okay, it depends on what you want to achieve with the geometry. With this, you can also fill it with the gradient. And then this is the tool for modifying it. Okay, so this, you change it. It could be even this. You can do also connect elements. If I do this and I click on this one, I connect this on the center. For this, let's see if it works. I move it and it's still connected. Okay, so I can do this bigger. Okay, so this will always follow it. And that's most of it. When you want to save, you want to do file, save as, and you can save as Inkscape SVG or plain SVG if you have any problem, but you can save also as PDF. You can also open PDF with Inkscape. If you want to save this as an image, the best thing, you do file, export image. You choose if it's the page, the whole drawing, just element you selected, you choose the resolution, you choose the file name and export, and it will be exported as an image. Let's see, something else you want to check. There are a lot of filters on elements and extensions. So for example, you can create, let me check. No, there is one I want to. Well, render, for example, barcode. You can create a QR code, and it will, well, take a bit and render it. Okay, and here is the QR code. There is something else. Say render gear. You can create a mechanical gear, so you can set up all the values that you would use in any case for calculating the gear, but then you can create it automatically. And then you can export it as VG and open it in Blender, in FreeCAD, in AutoCAD, somewhere else, so you can do a workflow with all the software we will see in the last video. So okay, this is the gear. If you want to edit, you can edit. Okay, so you can do whatever you want with this. Okay, that's all for Inkscape.